Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runsu, and here we are ready to discover Magic the Gathering top 10 crafters in all the Magic realm. And now, at number 10, with the first on our list is Imagecrater from Onslaught, being a common only with an average price of 22 cents on the market. Well, this one costs 1 for a 1/1, so already that's pretty decent. But tab it says choose a creature type other than a legend or a wall. Target creature's type becomes that type until end of turn. Now, with the whole new cards in the standard at the time of this video, this card could actually be quite helpful. But in the grand scheme of things, this card's not very good, other than paying 1 for a 1/1. It might be a good blocker or attacker at the beginning of the game, but other than that, that's it. So let's move on to number 9, where we have Oviya, Pashiri, Sage, Lifecrafter from Kaladesh. Rare, that's right, only 21 cents on the time of this video. Again, like the other one, it costs 1 mana for a 1/2, so that's pretty impressive on it itself, but it is legendary. So it costs 3 mana, put a 1/1 servo artifact creature token to play, or 5, create an XX colors contract creature token where X is the number of creatures you control. So those abilities are just way too expensive. You can do so much more. That's the reason why it says 9, because as good as it is, it's not. You know what I mean? So let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we have a Planeswalker, Jiang, Yanggu, Wildcrafter from War of the Spark, an uncommon going for an average price of 65 cents. 3 mana to bring in this 3, but each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter add 1 mana of any color, or minus, put a +1/+1 can on target creatures. Again, with this ability, it can work out, especially if you're playing with a deck that puts counters onto creatures. So therefore, you don't have to kill this Planeswalker and then add more mana, pumping out a lot more, I suppose, a green trample card based on the color of this legendary. So it's not too bad. That's why it's at number 8, but it can get expensive and a lot of strategy involved if you want this card to work. So let's move on to number 7, which is Lifecrafter's Bestiary from various sets, rare with an average price of 66 cents at the time of this video for the market. Costs 3 mana for this artifact, which is very typical for this type of artifact. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay a forest. If you do, draw a card. I think this card is actually a little underrated. It costs 3 mana to put into play, but after that, it doesn't get destroyed. Scrying and drawing cards, especially when it's green mana, not blue mana, I think this is a very powerful card when used in the right situation. So let's move on to number 6. We're going to have Plaguecrafter from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It's a mythic going for 99 cents in the market, which I think will drop later in the future because right now this is brand new for what the time of this video, so I assume it'll drop later. Anyway, it's a legendary enchantment background, costs 2 mana. It says commander creatures you have to sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and draw a card. So, if you are playing a commander series, this card can be helpful, but outside of that, this card is kind of useless because it does say commander. So it's very specific, and I'm not a fan of that. So let's move halfway down the list to number 5, which we have a unique card, Rashmi, Eternities Crafter. It's from Commander 2020 or Kaladesh. It's a mythic with an average price of $1.15 on the market at the time of this video. Costs 4 mana for this 2/3. But it has this ability, which is, again, unique with the green and the island. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with a converted mana cost of less than this spell, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't, cast the revealed card, put it into your hand. So again, it does go to with the whole control thing and paying stuff for free. And that's a really cool ability. That's why it's at number 5. But it's a 2/3, costs 4 mana, and I feel like if you're chanting it, take a chance. There's so much things that can go wrong with this card. So let's move on to number 4, which you saw in the intro video. It is Curiosity Crafter from Commander 2021, a rare going for an average price of $2.73. Costs 4 mana for a flying 3/3, and it has that really cool ability, that famous line, "You have no maximum hand size." That's just awesome. And it's a creature. It's not an artifact or an enchantment. It's a creature. A lot of things go wrong with that, but whenever you have a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So on top of that, drawing cards non-stop. That's just 100% awesome. So let's move on to number 3. We have one of my favorite Homeland cards, Anaba Spirit Crafter from Homelands, being rare with an average price of just under $2. And this is amazing if you do basically a Minotaur deck. Costs 4 mana for a 1/3, very expensive, but it says all Minotaurs get +1/0. Imagine having 4 of those with other abilities that make pumping up Minotaurs. It's basically a guaranteed Minotaur deck card, and I really like it. Again, that's why it's a number 3, because there's so much compatibility of what you can do with Minotaurs. So let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we have Plaguecrafter from various sets, being an uncommon with an average price of 44 cents. Basically, it says each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card when it enters the battlefield. So that definitely is a controlling card, especially coming from black. That is very unusual, and that's why it's at 44 cents. So it's a very powerful uncommon, but not enough to be a rare. So let's move on to number 1. Well, you've probably seen this card in my top 10 Lightning. This is Lifecrafter from Morningtide or the list, rare with an average price of $3.79. Well, this one is absolutely cool and annoying. Costs 4 mana for this 3/3, which is 100% worth its mana in, and this card is just playable, as you can see, in a real Magic game. It is a champion, a goblin, or a shaman. And it does 3 damage to target creature or player just by tapping it. That's what makes it so great. It's a lightning bolt and a creature, and doing that all the time, non-stop. You can't beat that. So this is why it's at number 1, and I won't go any more about that. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and have a good evening, and a good night.